Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. This is your host, Bob Gibbons.
And I'm Stephen Nooner. And I'm here to introduce our guest for today. Our guest is Clint Strong, CEO of Connectrac. Connectrac is providing really cool, innovative solutions that bring power and data cabling to client spaces. We're going to learn a lot more about that. Connectrac employs 55 people, and they're based here in Dallas. If you want to learn more, please visit connectrac.com. That's connect and then TRAC.com.
So that's
welcome.
2 T's or 1 T?
1 T.
1 T.
2 N's.
Okay. So, hey, we like to start off with wisdom of others when we get going here, because Steve and I sometimes are lacking in that department. Stephen, you brought a quote today you like. What did you got?
Is it the more relevant quote for today, Bob?
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
All things that seem to oppose our goals are actually the raw material for achieving them. And that is Dan Sullivan, founder of an organization called Strategic Coach.
Read that again.
All things that seem to oppose our goals are actually the raw material for achieving them.
Really?
Wow.
I'm not.
Wow.
I'm not sure I'm buying that at face value. So explain that to me.
I have found for myself personally, and I think Clint's got a great story to share on this, but I've found in my business experience most of the time when I hit difficult challenges in growing our business, a lot of time the answers and the solutions are right in front of me, and it's just simplifying and you once you get to that simplification, that's where the breakthrough occurs.
Okay, but the quote is, all things that seem to oppose our goals are the raw materials. So there's a lot of things that oppose my goals, like, I'm lazy. I want to go out and ride my bike instead. I want to, there's other things that oppose my goals that don't appear to be of any value to achieving them later.
Well, I would, if you want to get in it, since you're being difficult,
obstinate.
I will make the case
like
that those aren't goals that you're really committed to. Therefore, the things that seem to oppose your goals, there's actually clarity there that that's not really a goal that you're that committed to.
Okay. All right.
How about that?
Interesting.
All right. Smack down with Nooner. What can I tell you?
I've never seen Bob this spicy. You must have had some extra caffeine on the way in.
I don't drink caffeine. At least not coffee. All right. So,
Clint, what do you think? Let's have you weigh in here.
Oh, wow. I don't
The
I don't
first
think I want to go
fight.
there.
Yeah.
now be careful. Stephen will jump all over you. All right. So, hey, one thing I heard about you is that you like wooden boats.
Oh, I love wooden boats.
Now, what kind of wooden boats are we talking about?
I was talking to Stephen earlier. I love to go to Maine. And one of the things I love about Maine is the historic houses and buildings and the wooden boats. Wooden boat building and they're just so
So we talking about like Chris
beautiful.
Crafts?
Some, but or earlier than Chris Crafts. Maine is a place where they built boats for centuries.
So power boats,
Sailing
sailboats, whatever.
Yeah.
Very
Or
cool.
paddle boats you paddle or a row, and I mean they're all different kinds of.
Do you?
all different kinds of
I mean,
examples.
you just like observing. Do you have one?
I love it. And I have a dream to go, and I've talked to friends about this, to go to boat building school at some point. And you can do that. You can take courses in that.
Yeah.
Wow.
2-week courses.
Sure, it's like almost a lost art. You have to.
It is. Yeah, it's old skills that you don't see much anymore.
You need to go
but
to,
they're there.
Go to
Sounds
Lake
therapeutic.
Geneva in Wisconsin.
Yes, I would love to.
That is a
Yeah.
beautiful place. They have a lot of the old wood boats.
I've
Chris
seen
Crafts,
them in
et cetera.
magazines. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. That's
So
great.
So if you wouldn't mind, since I know you want to weigh in, but I think that your story is very cool, how Connectrac got started. So would you mind kind of sharing where the idea came from?
Sure.
And how you got it
Yeah.
going?
It's my background is in architecture. I mean, that's what I am and was when I had this idea. And what I was working for a neat interior design firm called Spencer Design Group here in Dallas, and our clients were telecommunications companies and high-tech companies, the old MCI, pre-WorldCom MCI, and Southwestern Bell.
Going back ways.
Yeah, this was a while ago. And so I was the architect on some projects, and we always had the challenge of bringing cabling, bringing connectivity to conference tables, to groups of workstations, meeting areas. And these were high-tech companies that needed connectivity and they wanted it done well. Well, the options to do that are real limited in buildings, and I mean there aren't many ways to do that.
I mean,
What are
usually
they?
you cut a hole in the floor.
You cut a hole in the floor mostly.
Core drill.
And you do a core drill, and
Which is
literally you're drilling through the concrete floor slab. I mean, almost every commercial building is made with concrete floor structures, and so you have to do that, and then you have to get under the space above the ceiling and the floor below to run conduits and cables, and it gets to be a real
massive
I mean,
project.
it's what people have used for a very long time.
And that
but you
assumes
can't-
you're on the second or third floor.
That's right. If you're on the ground floor, you
can't
can't
do
even
that.
do it. And there are oftentimes cases where if you're a tenant, say in one floor of a building, that means you have to get into your contractor has to get into the space below you, another tenant space, and it becomes really difficult and challenging and expensive. It can be very
And you got to do
expensive.
that after hours, not
And you have to
during
do it
business
after hours because
Messy,
it's
too.
real messy, and there's just a lot of issues with it.
You can't believe the noise that
Oh, the
creates.
noise!
That's
It's crazy.
unbelievable.
It's crazy. And so what I encountered was situation after situation where we couldn't do it. We weren't able to provide in all cases because of budget or because of other structural or other issues. We couldn't provide that connectivity, and so I started thinking there's got to be another way to do it. And I explored different options. I looked. This was pre-internet, pre-Google, so you couldn't just Google this, this kind of thing.
Right.
But I talked to people in the industry and just explored in every way I could, and there wasn't anything. And so
nothing.
There very few. I mean, you could do raised floors in some applications, but that's virtually never done in the U.S. For a lot of reasons. That kind of infrastructure we just don't typically want to pay for.
Right.
It's kind of a big deal to do that. So I started. I remember real clearly. I was in the middle of this project. It was an MCI project in Pittsburgh. And I was out visiting family in Seattle. On the way back on the plane, I started doodling. I started thinking about this and doodling, literally. And I came up with this cross-section of what I thought would work for an idea to bring cabling. And it's weird, but I had this instant vision of a warehouse full of this stuff, full of cartons and from then on, I just had, I don't know, I just had this real, not an obsession. It wasn't weird or anything, but I just felt I had this vision, and I moved forward with this idea, found a patent attorney, and went through that process, which is very lengthy. Got the patent. Then I decided to pursue engineering and design of this thing, and then it's an experience of having a lot of forks, like being on a road with a lot of forks. You have to decide this fork or that fork, and so because I was a practicing architect in this firm, and so my thought was, well, I'll get a patent and I'll license it to somebody who would do that, who would want to use this. And that just never happened. That never happened. I never found a company that was willing to do it. And so I went through the design process, found an industrial design firm and an electrical manufacturer, and got to a fork in the road where I either was going to go back again and show people a working prototype or do this myself. And I had at that point, I was so naive. I mean, geez.
Good thing, right?
But I still had this vision, right? I had this vision, and I saw all the parts and pieces that went into making this, and how really simple it was. I mean, it's a simple idea. It's not brain surgery, but I could see it coming together, and I thought, I could do this. I could start a company doing this, and then it was a matter of finding ways to fund it and that sort of thing. And really, at that point, I gathered family around and a couple of close friends who had been real supporters, and so we started on that path.
Wow.
My sister has been a part of the company from the very beginning, my older sister, and she's our CFO. But she just like really dug in and started investigating all the different things that would need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So on this product, for people that don't know what we're talking about, can you try to describe
sure,
what this thing
Bob.
looks like visually?
Yeah. So what happens is, so in buildings, normally the normal commercial building, we're talking office buildings, schools, libraries, training rooms, conference rooms, in those kinds of buildings, they're almost always concrete floor slab, concrete floor structure with carpet or carpet tile. And so what our system does is it's a combination of a center aluminum track that provides the cable pathway from, say, a wall to a conference table. And on the sides of this track are low sloping ramps, transition ramps. So the track goes on the floor on the concrete slab. The carpet or carpet tile goes up those very low sloping transition ramps, and we've basically made a little trough in the floor with those elements, and then we lay cables inside the wireway, put the cap on, and it's finished.
And is this a track for internet connectivity and electricity?
For sure.
So any kind of cables I need to take through there.
Absolutely. It's power, data, phone, AV, you name it, because everything is required.
What's the time to implement something like this versus the old way?
Well, that's the cool thing about it. You can put a system in. You can do a conference room. You can install our systems and be up and running in 2 or 3 hours.
Wow.
Whereas a core drill, aside from having to be done after business hours, I mean, it depends on, oftentimes in many buildings, you actually, before you can drill the hole in the floor, you have to x-ray the slab, the floor slab, because there's reinforcing bars running through the concrete, and you don't want to cut that. It's very, very bad if you cut or damage one of the reinforcing bars. So you have to bring an x-ray crew out to x-ray that. I mean, you can just imagine how crazy this sounds, right? But you x-ray it, then do the core drilling, then put the device in, then run the conduit and the cables underneath the floor over to a wall where you have to drill other holes to get the cables down. It's just a really complicated. I mean, it's complicated and expensive.
It has to be really permanent, right? I mean,
and that's another thing. It's permanent. You can't move a hole. You can't move a hole in a floor.
So is this a lot less expensive than the core drill?
It's a lot less expensive.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you don't end up with a trip hazard in the middle of the floor,
right?
Because the transitions kind of make it.
It's very, very gradual.
Okay.
And our newest product, our newest wireway, is even less gradual. And I mean, we're constantly developing and new products and that sort of thing.
So you develop the product, you have the patent, you've got something that no one else has. Now, how do you go out and build a business? Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand, and landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hi, this is Rob Rash, President and CEO of Olympia Consulting, and we help sales organizations become world-class in their performance. And Bob and Stephen are great guys, but I have no idea what class they are.
Welcome back to The Next Level. We're here with our guest, Clint Strong, CEO and founder of Connectrac, and you can learn more about them at connectrac.com, and that's connectrac.com.
2 N's, 1 T.
There you go.
There we go.
Exactly.
So we're kind of alluding this, and I just found it fascinating. So you developed a solution for businesses that didn't exist before.
Right.
So I take for granted that for the most part, people know what we do. What is that like, and how did you get adoption? How did you get momentum in sales, which you need to build a business?
Wow, that's a really good question. We were always involved in the furniture world because our products were to connect furniture, right? So one of the things that we did was when we launched our products, when we first, we found manufacturers for all the components. We found a fulfillment company, which was huge, who would warehouse and distribute all of our products for us. That was like a big piece of the puzzle. So we got those key things figured out. Those are real easy, not easy, but you can find solutions, right, to those things. We ended up exhibiting at the biggest national interior design show in the country, which is called NeoCon, and it's in Chicago every June. And we won an award, for an architectural award, a silver award for architectural products, and that which was a huge thing for us because we didn't really have the product even available to sell. It's like the Detroit car show, they're not really on the market yet.
Yeah. So you're taking orders, and you're
we literally were. Yeah. We were waiting for our UL listing, and from all that stuff to be finalized. But we won an award, which gave us some amount of credibility, and we started promoting ourselves to contract furniture dealers, business furniture dealers, and interior designers and architects. We started working with some manufacturers' reps to build awareness.
And how many people are in the company at this point, by the way? Is it just you and your sister?
There were about 3 of us. There were 3 of us plus we outsourced the warehousing and fulfillment parts of it. And so we did our best to find ways to build awareness. We had no expertise, no background at all in that. This is the thing. We had some of the things that are key to me are to always, and this is just logical, but always present yourself and your company as being bigger and more established than it may be. So we always tried to do that. We've always worked with ad agencies or people who would represent us really well with collateral materials and advertising, that sort of thing, when we had the budget for that.
And what year is this that you're starting all this?
This is 2005.
Okay, so the internet's around at this point. And,
yeah. Okay. So we it definitely was, and so we had very little money to do any of that, and we weren't being paid at that point. It was a while before we started really paying ourselves.
You're all in. You've invested
For
a while.
sure,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah. But we started working with independent reps and building business. And frankly, if it's all about the product, it's all about the solution. If there hadn't been such a need for a solution like ours, we wouldn't have been able to succeed, I'm guessing, because that was not our expertise. I mean, my field is architecture, interiors, that world, and my sister's field was management information systems and auditing. That was her background. So she comes from a finance and accounting world, and I come from an architecture and interiors world. So, which was key. Those are key,
But in the architectural world, interior design world, aren't those your main champions? I mean, the people that are going to spec your product?
Well, it's interesting now they are, but what's happened is we found that architects and interior designers, architects are risk averse by nature. They are. They're not. They gravitate to the tried and true solution, and they've used core drills and the like for so long. They're comfortable with it. Engineers are comfortable with it. So they weren't originally the biggest champions of ours. What we found was facility end user customers, facility managers, facility planners who lived in the trenches in those buildings and had to, dealt with reconfigurations of spaces and all
had
that.
to do it speedily.
That's right. They had to do it. They had to do it in budget. They knew they lived with the issues. They understood what a core drill does for them, and they can't move it, and so on. And so from the beginning, we were embraced by facility planners and managers, and in many cases, and what we see today is the biggest customers, the biggest and most important clients of ours are telling their architects and designers. They're introducing it to the architects and designers. And these are, companies like Tesla and Airbnb and there's just so many.
So
Apple and Google.
So these people are the facilities managers for large companies. So are you members of organizations where those people like IFMA,
yep,
International
we sure
Facility
are.
Managers
IFMA,
Association?
IFMA is a great organization. Very helpful for a facility manager, that whole profession, and we interact with them, a lot for
What
sure.
about the furniture dealers?
And the furniture dealers are very important to us as well, because they for a couple of reasons. One is that they're big, oftentimes real champions of our products because it gives them something else they can sell. They can't sell a customer a core drill. They're not involved with that, but they can sell a Connectrac system to be able to to provide connectivity to the boardroom table that they're selling. So it gives them extra. It's
a natural add-on.
It's a natural add-on, which is really kind of cool. And also, they have gotten us in the door of some really key customers. I mean, because they're the ones who sell directly to the Microsofts and the Nikes, and so they have given us a way to get into those companies. So it's again, there's a real need there.
Okay, so an important question here is, my business is representing companies and their real estate transactions, so I'm a tenant rep.
Yeah.
So whenever we negotiate deals, one of the things we're always negotiating is who's paying for what.
Right.
Is it the landlord paying it, or is it the tenant paying for it? In this situation, the core drilling is going to be paid out of the allowance that the landlord provides, or they're just going to do it on a turnkey basis. Whereas this is something movable that the tenant can take away with them. So I assume this is paid by the tenant then instead of the landlord. Typically,
I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing it is, especially if
Okay.
it's part of the furniture package.
Although if it's under the carpet, maybe not.
Yeah, but again, it's still able to be moved pretty easily. You can reuse, and that's another thing about our systems that a lot of designers and architects like, and facility managers too. The kind of green aspect to it, they don't have to.
So flexible, and sounds like
it's very flexible and changeable. Yeah, that's a real advantage to our systems.
So where do you have this manufactured, and how did you figure that out?
Well, again, it's pretty simple. The components are pretty simple. We've had some changes over the years, but in general, we have a lot of great Texas manufacturers who do for example, our aluminum extrusions, our moisture-resistant MDF ramps it's residual wood waste from Arkansas that's milled for us down in Duncanville or DeSoto, Duncanville, I think, or Cedar Hill, south of Dallas.
Yeah,
sorry
South
about
County.
that. But and then our electrical comes from a great manufacturer up in Connecticut. So everything is domestic. We have molded plastic parts, lots of molded plastic parts that come from Carrollton here in the metro area. So all of that stuff comes to us in our facility, and it's all assembled and put on the shelves and ready to be shipped. So that's another advantage, that it's all kind of pre-kitted and ready to rock and roll.
So you started the business in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it was kind of a crawl, walk, and maybe a sprint now. I mean, you have 55 employees. What would you say with that kind of growth has been maybe your biggest breakthrough?
Well, that's a really good question, Stephen. Going from 2 people initially to 55 people hasn't always been easy. And I didn't embrace or want any sort of hierarchy necessarily in our company. I just didn't anticipate that, didn't want a lot of rigidity. But we got to the point where we were growing rapidly, and our initial 15 or 20 people, it wasn't even that, it was like 10 people. We just got frustrated because we weren't able to move as quickly on things. And there were a lot of examples. We had really hit a ceiling that companies do. And so what we ended up doing is working with a great facilitator. Jeff Whittle is his name. He's a good friend of mine now.
He's been on the show.
And he's been on the show. Great. Anyway, he has helped our leadership team with EOS training and just working with that methodology and those processes, so that we're really able to escape the chaos and really have balance and structure and discipline that everybody has embraced wholeheartedly. It's been real interesting. All the disparate personalities have really come together on our leadership team, and it's made all the difference in the world for us. It's allowed us to continue to grow rapidly and embrace all the challenges that brings.
Now, a lot of employees complain about structure and hierarchy and all that kind of stuff, but have you found that has empowered the employees, or what's the good and the bad of that?
Well, what I found was people have embraced it because they were floundering and I don't know, they weren't familiar or didn't know their place well enough. Sometimes were uncomfortable, and so it's helped them know their role. And I don't know, that structure, we even though we may not think we want it, we need it, and we feel comfortable with it.
We use Jeff as well, and it's been a game changer for us in implementing the EOS. So hats off to Jeff and the system. What's next for you?
Wow, we are, we're bringing out, it's frustrating how long it takes to bring out a new product, but we're working very, very quickly on that. So we're expanding. We just moved into new facilities. That is a huge thing for us because it allows us to grow both people and space for product and that sort of thing. We're going to be looking for, we have so much interest in our products from Australia, Europe, Asia. We'll be doing more work in those areas too.
Well, thanks so much for being our guest today. We've really enjoyed having you on. We could talk a lot longer, but we got to go. If you'd like to learn more about the company, it's connectrac.com. And if you want to learn more about the show, go to nextlevelshow.com or find us on the podcasting world at The Next Level Show.
Have a great week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.